So, are you guys ready to learn?
Yes.
Yes. No. Are you guys ready to learn?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, let me ask you something. Do you want to make a lot of money?
Yes.
No. No. Let me try it again. Do you want to make a lot of money?
Yes.
No. Let's try it one more time, and I really want to know. Do you want to make a lot of money? Thank you. All right, thank you. I mean, let's get some freaking energy in here, right? Seriously. Everything is energy. Let me hear you say that. Everything is energy. Okay, you know what? Your energy means a lot, not only to Carlos, but to your own success. How many would agree?
Yes.
All right. So right now, we are blessed, and I really, truly mean this. Copywriting is an art and a talent and a skill. Not everybody can write compelling copy that gives people an incentive to take an action. How many would agree?
Agree.
And when you get the opportunity to learn from a copywriter, and really, copywriting is really, and I'm sure Carlos is going to agree with me, it's all about human psychology. How many would agree?
Agree.
So when you hear the kind of information that Carlos is going to share with you, this stuff is freaking gold if you actually do it in your life. How many would agree?
Yes.
So again, I want you guys to pay close attention. And again, one of the benefits of being part of our team is Carlos. So now you have access to a brilliant copywriter to help all of us really excel in our marketing and our copywriting, and because everything is copy. Let me hear you say that.
Everything is copy.
Hey, you know what? If you're doing a speech, is there copy involved in the speech?
Yes.
I mean, if you're doing a sales presentation, is there copy in the sales presentation?
Yes.
Everything starts and ends with copy. True or true?
True.
Okay, so I want you guys to stand up. Let's give a rousing ovation.
That's a sturdy freaking So, I know we've been doing the raising hand. I actually love that. Jeff's influenced me so much. Just so I get an idea, how many of you guys actually sell a product that you're trying to make an impact with? Like you're trying to change the world with your product rather than just make money. Perfect, so the majority of you. The good news is this will work whether you're doing that or just trying to make a bunch of cash and you don't even care about the person. The thing is, one of the things that, I was talking to, I forget who it was, but somebody was asking me, hey, you must be really passionate about copywriting and stuff. And the truth is, it's not copy that really gets my blood pumping. It's seeing the results and seeing what people do. Because I remember when I was writing copy, I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. I thought you had to do this really complex language, sound super smart, use all this crazy mumbo jumbo stuff. And especially, the reason why I say that is because I was writing towards an older demographic. How many of you guys, just to show of hands, know the company named Agora? Cool. So they're a $1 billion company. If you want to study direct marketing, I would highly suggest studying Agora, A-G-O-R-A. They've got about 30 subsidiary companies. They're unbelievable. Anyway, when I first started writing for these guys, I was using all this crazy fancy wording, and I thought it was exactly what was going to convert, but it wasn't doing anything. It was actually really terrible. And so one of the things I wanted to go over was some common fears, common things that make us all go crazy, and then some real common desires that if you can tap one of each of those, and I'll show you exactly what that means, you can really make your copy sing. You can make it convert, even if you're not a great writer. You just need to know a few simple steps and a few templates to make that actually happen. You guys following me so far?
Yes.
Perfect. So, show of hands, how many of you guys know what an advertorial is? Okay, so just as a brief description, again, this is going to be a little bit more, I'll go into it, but there's a few ways I like to look at advertorials. One way is you're essentially pre-selling whatever it is that you offer, right? So if you've got a service that does taxes for people, instead of sending people directly to your page saying, hey, you want me to help with your taxes, you can send them to an advertorial, which is essentially framed like a newsworthy third-party article that's being written about you. Think of it like the best situation in the world happens to you. You've got the reporter of the most popular magazine in town or whatever it is in your niche, and they call you up. They're like, hey, I see you've got this product. I'd love to feature you on my next story. Are you available for an interview? And you say, yes, I'd love to do this, right? How many of you guys would see, like, they take that opportunity, right? If a reporter came to you and wanted to interview you and feature you, you would take it. So that's what we're doing. You're putting yourself in that mentality where you're going to be that reporter. You're going to be your own best reporter, because that probably won't happen to you naturally. So one of the things that you want to kind of keep in mind, again, I'll go into it a little more, is that when you're writing this copy, you want it to be tough on yourself, right? If you're writing an advertorial, you want to come from a consumer's point of view. You're the defendant, the fighter for the consumer. And most people, we were talking about this, I think, with Brian, with market sophistication, we kind of touched on a little. The more your market is aware of your marketing, the more honest you kind of want to be, right? Because they're savvy. You don't need to BS these people. You just need to be honest, give them some results, and many times you just need to share stories that other people, saw success. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. So with the advertorial, we're going to, and just kind of get them, again, we're going to go step by step so you see all this, but just kind of get in the mentality of you're going to be this investigative journalist that's coming in and beating down the door of this CEO of this company, and you're saying, hey, are you a scam artist like everybody else? Here's what everyone, and you're interviewing this person hard. And somewhere in that interview, in that advertorial, you get turned around as a reporter. This person really convinces you. They say, hey, no, totally. A lot of people are scam artists. That's why, here's our mission. That's why we've affected this many people. Here's some stories, right? And you turn that reporter around. So when the person clicks on the article, how many of you guys click on articles that sound dramatic, crazy? Have you heard of clickbait? Raise your hand if you've heard of clickbait. It's essentially clickbaity, right? So we're talking to the people when we're advertising an advertorial and putting it in front of a cold. How many of you guys know what a cold audience is? Show of hands. Perfect. So we put our message in front of a cold audience, people who don't know who we are, and we're going to naturally start getting more attention and more clicks because we're meeting where they are. We're starting with some kind of controversy. We're saying, here's how this desperate nerd from Miami, stumbled his way into $1 million, right? That's kind of crazy, right? And if any of you guys know who Gary Halbert is, that's like a really bad ripoff of Gary Halbert. So you should totally look up Gary Halbert. Here's a few copywriters I highly suggest just kind of Googling, studying on your own. Gary Halbert, John Carlton, Gary Bencivenga. A lot of these guys are retired or dead, but they're the greatest, in my opinion.
Yes.
And a guy who really coached me and helped me a lot at Agora, his name's Clayton Makepeace. I don't know if any of you guys know him. Yeah. He, in my opinion, is probably one of the best living copywriters in the world. He's like 70 years old. He's been doing it for 40 or 50 years. Like, he knows what works. And one of the things that when you're studying advertorials or any kind of sales copy, if you're ever feeling stuck, one of the things that I like to do, and I was talking about it a little bit earlier, is I go into the past. Because if you were able to convert in newspapers, in magazines, and things where you had to fork over 10, 20, 30 grand on a single ad, you needed that ad to work, right?
Yeah.
So if you can make that ad work, the same, if you find an ad from the 40s or something, and you're selling tax services or something, you can not rip off the ad, but look at that ad. What are the fears they're attacking? What are some common yes questions they're saying? Are they saying, hey, are you behind on back taxes? That might be something that you want to, address in your stuff. So let's dig in a little bit more. I kind of want to give you guys a little background on that. So here we go. This is actually one of my recent clients. I was so excited. Brandon was running the ad. I don't know if Brandon's here. He's running the ads for my client. We wrote an advertorial for him, and this it's like 66 deals, like 90-something thousand worth of deals. And what he sells is I think it's like a 7. I can't say exactly what he sells, but he's in the survival niche. He sells an ATV type of thing for about $7,000 or $8,000. So he was like, I can't get anyone to buy. And like, no one's buying from my Facebook ad. No one, and he wasn't getting enough conversions. Sometimes he could get people on the phone, but he couldn't close them because it was a high ticket thing. So what we did is we actually, it's literally, the advertorial was probably like 500 words, 1,000 words, not really a long thing. And what we did is we took a real story. So this particular vehicle thing that he sells is actually picked up by certain military units. So he's targeting survivalists, all this stuff. They called it I can't use a slang term. Yeah, okay, well, fuck it, Brandon used it. So we called it a mechanical donkey, right? So it was kind of a slang term. It got attention, and I forget the exact title. It was something about how the military uses like some whole package. He was getting people on the phone, but it wasn't converting anybody, right? So what we did is we had a story about how these advertorial, or how these vehicles are being used by all these different types of people. And I forget who said it today, but how many of you guys remember when somebody said, I think actually Robert was talking about, you explain the uses of the product you're selling. You're like, hey, you can use this to do this.
That's right.
That's Robert. That's so big. I mean, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what this was, right? We came at it almost from a kind of like that point of view where, oh, is this scammy or not scammy? But this market wasn't so sophisticated that we really had to go that extra aggressive route where I got to get turned over or anything. They really need to get some curiosity piqued, and they need to just kind of get a good story and reason to use this, right? So by the time he was getting people on the phone, after they read this advertorial, they had gotten a good story, they saw testimonials, they saw a video of how it was actually used, and that's another big secret is you can use videos. And I'm not a Facebook ad guy, but I know like Brandon and Brian, a lot of these guys who do that. You can actually embed a video from Facebook onto your advertorial, now retarget the people who watch that video from your advertorial. Does that kind of make sense? I know it's a little much. But anyway, so I like to show this because this literally happened just a few days ago, and it was huge. He went from not being able to convert anybody to selling people on a $7,000 to $8,000 deal, and it's all through a 1,000-word advertorial, right? So, basic copy principles, you want to make sure you write these down. They should be in your cheat sheet. If they're not, write them down. But you want to make sure, just like what I was saying before, I thought using this like complex jargon and all these like big words and stuff was going to be like the best thing for me to make it sound super smart in our advertising. The thing is, most people are really on a 5th grade level when it comes to reading. And let's see, how many of you guys actually not listened to a book, but like read a book within the last month? Wow, this is a great group. This is a great group of entrepreneurs. So most people, except for you guys, don't actually do that. And so one of the things that we started figuring out is since most people aren't actually reading that much, when you start talking over their head, trying to sound smarter than them, you're losing them. You need to meet your customers where they're at, right? It's a little bit provocative, but a buddy of mine, Chris Haddad, he's a great modern day copywriter. He writes in the romance kind of niche, and how he actually sells to men and women, right? How to get your ex back, how to get a woman, all these different types of things. One of the things that he figured out, this is again very crude, but that he was targeting men, and he was trying to sell men on how to be a better boyfriend, because he's actually a good person. He wanted to show you how to be a better man. But the thing is, a lot of the traffic that was hitting his website, they didn't care about being a better boyfriend. What do you think they wanted to do? Show me, I'm curious. Like, what do you guys think that these single guys wanted to learn how to do?
To pick up women.
Pick up women. And so his whole thing, it wasn't working, it wasn't converting, and so he changed his whole angle. Instead of how to be a better boyfriend, how to be a better husband, it was how to get head. It's crazy. If you go to howtogethead.com, it's probably still up. And it's unbelievable. Yeah, I'd be shocked if it didn't hit 7 figures. I'm sure it hit 7 figures. And minimum. Like, it's a really good sales letter. So what did he do? And I was talking to him about this years ago. I was talking about it. He was like, well, I had to meet them where they were at. Like, these guys are 23 years old, 21, 18. Like, they didn't care about being better husbands, better boyfriend. That just wasn't there. So I had to meet them where they were, give them the process of getting what they want, and then in the upsell programs, you give them what they need. So you give them what they want, and then upsell them to what they need. Because if you try to give them what they need, they may not know they need it yet. Does that kind of make sense? So you give people what they want, then you give them what they need. So, copy principles, avoid big words no one understands. Use stories to emotionally relate, persuade, and sell. How many of you guys have heard actually, facts tell, stories sell? Yeah, it's a great saying. I mean, when I first heard that, I was like, man, that just makes total sense. Because what people end up doing is they get sold because of the story. Like what happened with Brian. It's like they possibly closed like almost $1 million in a day in a webinar or something, and that was them sharing their story, telling a real story. So when people get that, that's what they're buying, and then they'll justify it with logic. So I haven't seen his webinar, but I would assume it was something like, here's my story and here's some results. Here's my story. You bought into me. Here are my results. Here's the justification for you buying my program, because it actually makes sense. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Perfect. That's really critical, because a lot of times what ends up happening is we either and I had this really big issue before. I would go one way or the other. I would either go super emotional and like, no one wants to be reading super emotional stuff, you know, the way I was writing it. And then I was going the other way. I was going too technical. So I wasn't hitting that fine line. And so what I always started, and I still do it now, is I start with my story, and I don't hold back. Sometimes I cut back my story because I just get too deep into stuff that doesn't need to be there. Like, your stories don't have to go super deep. They have to create an emotion, and then you got to do something with that emotion. You need to move them, right? You don't want to get them. You want to get them frustrated and a little bit of pain in the beginning because you need to move. But if you keep them in that pain, you're just going to make them sad and leave, and that's the last thing you want, right? So you move them with the emotion, and you justify a little bit with some logic. Always want to have a call to action. How many of you guys have this will be fun. How many of you guys have a business card? Yeah, I figured as much. I mean, it's a digital marketing crowd. Who has a business card? Digital marketing crowd, right? But if you have a business card, you want to make sure, or anything really, but I like using the business card ideas because most business cards are just name, telephone number, email, and profession. And that's it. There's no call to action. You've got to have a call to action because without that, they end up being used for you know, rolling, you know, little marijuana cigarettes or nothing, or you know what I'm saying, right? But so you got to have a call to action. I forget, Joe Polish, who's another great marketer, and he used to hire people like Gary Halbert and stuff back in the day. Again, one of the things that I like, and you'll probably hear me talking about people that aren't even marketing nowadays, right? Because they're probably, you know, dead or retired. They don't really need to do much, right? So if you ever have, and I was talking to a few of you guys, if you ever have a question like, man, how do I market this in my particular industry? Go on Google, type in tax preparation or whatever it is, click on all the, if that's what you're selling. Click on only the paid advertising that pops up on Google because you know the people that are paying to be on top of Google are probably using a funnel, an advertorial, they're probably using techniques that we're using right here. If someone is just, you know, doing their normal search engine optimization stuff and just naturally popping up on Google, that's really cool and all, but it's just not the same type of website you need to set up if you're doing these types of ads. Does that kind of make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, and then the other thing is we want to make sure that we're talking to one person, not multiple. So in we're talking about advertorial, so I'll shift into that. But let's say we're doing a sales letter, or let's say we're doing a chatbot sequence. I don't say, hey friends, I say, hey Bob. I'm talking to one person in that chatbot sequence. The more personal you are along every piece of copy, the higher results. One of the things you can do, this is just more of a technical thing, just keep it in the back of your head, you can Google how to do it, is once people opt in to, do you guys know what an opt-in is? Just want to make sure I'm using it like.
Does anybody not know?
Does anyone not know what an opt-in is? Perfect. So when someone comes to your website, opts in, gives you their contact information, their name, their email, telephone number, whatever you want, you can make that next page actually customized to their name. Now, I'm not the technical guy who does that. I write the copy and hire that part out. So I couldn't show you that, but I know it's possible. And one of the things that you can do is if you get their name right there, say, hey, get this free ebook, just give me your name and email. On that next page, say, hey John, you know, I just emailed you the ebook, but I made this special video for you, so make sure you check it out. Do you guys think that'll have way more conversions than if it was just a blanket kind of statement?
Sure.
Of course, because you're customizing, you're talking to one person. It may be the same one-size-fits-all type of deal, but when you customize, you talk to one person, that'll almost always, I mean, the only reason I say almost is because I don't like making guarantees, but it should always increase results. So when you're doing that in an advertorial, and it's something that's kind of like an article, an advertorial, again, we're thinking of it like a newsworthy article, and then at the end it has a slight pitch. So as a gift to our readers, you know, this company has agreed to give you a free trial of their whatever it is, right? So, so even during our advertorials, you want to make sure, just like any good news article, you read it and it's newsworthy, but it's talking really to you, right? One of the most powerful words in marketing, other than free, is the word you. And coincidentally, when you use the word you a lot on Facebook, you get shut the fuck down. So you need to learn how to work around that. So one of the things that so anyway, you is a powerful word. When you're doing stuff on Facebook, figure out how to take it out. And I'll give you an example. Do you love dogs? Right? If we use the formula that Robert Novel was showing us, you have something to relate to them in the beginning, right? Do you love dogs? Relate to them. Well, instead of saying the you can just put love dogs, right? So little things like that. But if you understand that you is a really powerful word, you can start applying that, not on your Facebook ads necessarily, but more so on the next page they go to, whether that's an advertorial, a landing page, or whatever that is. Does that kind of make sense when I show of hands?
Yeah.
Yes.
And just to clarify, when
Yes.
you're talking about not using you, that's only for Facebook ads.
Yes, exactly. And so that's why I wanted to stress it, because the last thing I want you guys to do is use the word you like crazy, because I said it's what's going to make people convert, and you get shut down, right? So Facebook, and again, Ryan and Robert are probably better at the Facebook ad explanation than I am, but from my experience running my own ads, anytime I use you, I almost always get shut down. Not always, but it almost always gets shut down. And the reason I think of it is you're talking to that one person, right? And Facebook kind of likes things to be more blanket, right? So I can't say, hey, you're going to see these results. Say, a lot of people are seeing results. You may, right? Click here to find out if you qualify. That's still intriguing, right? So there's ways to tiptoe around it. Okay, but these copy principles make sense because you can't really write the advertorial in college language, because then it won't work. So if you really want to kind of understand these principles, and then we can move on. Just by a show of hands, does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Perfect. You guys are great.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I'm done.
No, I mean, that alone was like,
Well, let's give it up for Carlos.
that alone was like changing.
So I know we talked a little bit about advertorial, but I wanted to kind of get this definition out there, or multiple definitions. So I like to think of an advertorial as essentially blending editorial style copy, newspapers type stuff, something a real reporter would write, with sales copy. And again, it's kind of used as a bridge. Some people call it a bridge page because here's your Facebook ad, and you send them to your advertorial, and you're not selling anything here generally. You're really making them click, so then they buy something on this page, which is actually how I got this. Have any of you guys heard of a Theragun?
Yes.
You have. I showed it to you. So I love bringing this. I almost didn't bring it. As we were walking out today, I was like, oh, I gotta grab this shit. It's so funny. It's a real story. So I bought this because of an advertorial. I actually thought it was totally silly. It's $600, and I say that because it's like, in my opinion, overpriced. But I bought that shit, right? So look, it's $600. Now I'll show you what they did to me. This is it. It's like a really fancy egg beater, right? So that's $600 right there. And when I first read their advertorial and saw their Facebook ads, I was like, this is so stupid, but they're genius. They probably got this on AliExpress or something. They're probably more. So I looked it up on AliExpress and I couldn't find it. Damn. And anyway, so they retargeted me for, I don't know, probably like 5 weeks or 6, or like a month basically. And they transformed me because I honestly clicked on the advertorial. Let me break it down. Sorry. I want to make sure you guys get this because it was super cool to me. Their funnel, as far as I know, from what I experienced, was really simple. Advert is advertorial. All right. Then all right. So ugly handwriting, but here's the gist of what ended up happening. So they targeted me on Facebook. Like I said, in their target market or whatever. So they target me on Facebook, and then they send me to this advertorial. And the advertorial is showing me all these people and all these athletes using this, and all these happy stories, and all these testimonials. And what was really cool is they had tons of different reasons, on tons of different ways on how you could use this. You could use this for, I don't remember them all, but for your legs, you could do it on your feet. They had all these different things, like 40 different reasons on how you can use it. And I glanced through, I looked through it, and I was like, this is nonsense, this is bullshit, right? And then I backed out and I left, and I just didn't think of anything of it. Then they just kept retargeting me. I saw it everywhere. And then I ended up buying the damn thing. I don't know what my thought process was, because it wasn't like I'm going to buy it and then use it in a presentation. It was nothing like that. Like I thought it was a stupid purchase, and then something happened. I probably buy it late at night because that's the best time to buy, right? So Facebook ad, Advertorial. Eventually, I clicked on the link that took me from their Advertorial to their Amazon store, and that's where I actually made my purchase. It wasn't on a Shopify page or anything like that. Yeah, and I'm not like a whiz kid on Amazon, but as far as I know, you can't really put a Facebook pixel on your Amazon store. So is that right?
That's correct.
Right. So the thing I'm assuming is they're like, well, let's see, how can we control our traffic? We can send them to an Advertorial, and we can just retarget everybody who reads Advertorial, and then retarget everybody who clicks on the button but didn't possibly take action maybe, right? So there's a lot of retargeting involved, and we'll actually go into it like at different price points, and if you're selling certain things, you want to focus more on your retargeting. Like if you're selling something that's food, for example, even if it's a $200 deal, you actually don't necessarily, you'll probably get that sale like quickly, right? Because it's perishable. It's something that if it's gone. If this type of deal, $600, even if it was $200, since it's still a higher ticket product, it's not a perishable good. They're going to need to retarget you for a certain amount of time. Excuse me. But anyway, this is kind of a sidetrack, but that's why I want to bring this up, because I was like, man, these people like hit me with an Advertorial, and I thought it was nonsense, and then they convinced me somehow through massive retargeting that it wasn't nonsense at all, and it was totally worth it. And so now I use it all the time to make sure I get my value out of it.
And Carlos, just to be sure, does everybody know what retargeting means? Is anybody who doesn't know what retargeting means? Okay,
Perfect.
so why don't we just take a second so everybody's clear on what that means?
So essentially what retargeting is, it's similar to what it sounds essentially. So if I hit this Advertorial page, this company, these people here, Theragun people, they see that. They're like, okay, this person has read my article. I'm going to make sure they see my ad. They're obviously a relatively hot lead. Something that gained their interest. Maybe I just need, maybe it's a price issue, which it was, I guess. And so they just put their ad in front of you more often because you showed interest initially, so they're retargeting you.
So basically with that, whatever website you go to, guess what ad showing up on that website? Their ad.
And I'm promoting.
It's like no matter where you go, there's our ad. Right? It's like they're stalking you. Did you know? Have you guys ever searched like vacation rental by owners? Or hotel rooms in San Diego, and then every website you go to for the next week, you see these ads for hotel rooms in San Diego.
Yeah.
That's retargeting.
That's the only reason why I quit searching porn.
Yeah. That's funny.
That's what I gotta find back. It's like running out.
Where were we? Right? Where were we?
Yeah. And it's funny because I was thinking, like, how could you retarget on Facebook for someone who watches porn? I was just thinking, like, how do you do that? It's resourceful.
Isn't that what private windows do? If you select private window, it doesn't retarget you.
We don't know, Randy.
This doesn't apply to porn at all. It applies to like your vacation rental.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be retargeted on your vacation rental, you can use a private window.
Interesting. I have no idea, to be honest. I'm not sure about that part, but I do know this is how they got me. And I was the total skeptical buyer. I know about drop shipping. I know you can probably get this in China for like $50. Like, I know it.
If you pay too much.
So this is what I'm saying, like, if it works on somebody who's totally savvy and writes these types of things, you think it'll work on somebody who doesn't? Yeah, it will, right? And if you've got, and the reason I like this is because it literally pre-sells people, and it's doing them a favor, assuming you're doing something cool and you're getting, like this is probably, I'm bashing on it a lot, but let's say I was like super athletic and like really was sore and shit, it's not true. But like this would probably help, right? So they did a good job
Great story.
Yeah, they did a good job getting it in my hands. If you don't get the product in my hands, you can't really make an impact. So it's the whole point. Like, so that's why I asked, like, how many of you guys are actually trying to sell a product to make an impact? And if you are, you can actually, if you've got a charity you're donating to, what kind of impact you're making, you can put that in the Advertorial because people love to be part of something bigger than themselves. If they would have said, I guarantee I would have bought sooner. If they would have said they would donate like X% of the profits to some sort of inner city like building program, like I would have bought it just for that because now I feel like I'm doing something cool, right? I'm giving back and I'm just buying something I can probably resell. I'll just justify it in another way. But adding that element is huge because people want want to be part of something bigger. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Carlos, for our use,
Yes.
would you say there's a direct correlation that we should be spending more retargeting efforts on higher price? I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like there's a.
Absolutely. I'll actually show you, depending on the product, there's a little graph. I stole it from the site called Taboola. I think that's how you pronounce it. But a lot of native ads and a lot of advertorials get shown on this type of website, so they've got a bunch of really cool stats. And I'll show that in a second. But yeah, generally the higher the price point, the more you have to retarget. And the only exceptions for that is like beauty supplies, like makeup, stuff like that, and perishable goods, foods, things like that, right? Okay, so here's 10 humans, or 10 fears all humans have. And I started thinking about this. So many of my colleagues here have unbelievable like triangles and cool like systems and cool, you know. So I've made this name up, the persuasion pyramid. It might change. It's not trademarked yet. Persuasion pyramid. So here's the deal. And this is actually, I've taught this in certain presentations before, but I never framed it like that, but it's important because it's actually what I do. So in all of your advertorial, really all of your copy, but we're focusing on advertorials, you've got an overall theme, right? There's your buyer, if let's say they're trying to make money online, there's a certain pain point they might have, right? There's certain fears they might have. They may have, let's say I was like my buddy Chris who sells relationship type stuff. There's a fear of loneliness that a lot of people have, and so one of the themes in a lot of his copy is the fear of loneliness. That's not the only thing he attacks. There's some other stuff you want to include. There's actually 3 types of feelings, emotions you're really trying to tap into in each piece of your copy, especially regarding advertorial. So some basic fears, again, you want to write these down or fill them out in your cheat sheet. The fear of the unknown, fear of the, and again, it's not like we're going to use, fear of the unknown, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure all in one advertorial. You're going to choose one, right? There's one theme we're going to go with for this part. So, fear of the unknown, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, which is huge just across the board. Most people don't start something because they're so used to failing, they don't want to fail again. Fear of poverty and wanting what you can't have. Fear of loneliness. Fear of dependence. Fear of betrayal. Fear of illness. Fear of death. Fear for someone else. So I like this fear for someone else. I kind of sprinkle it in, and it depends on what you're selling, I suppose, but like health-related things. Sometimes you'll have a wife buy a health-related product for her husband because he's too stubborn to do it himself. He's too proud for whatever reason. So you have the fear for someone else, and you tap into that. So if you understand that your market isn't really the people buying, it's the people they're buying it for, that's something you want to hit. Does that kind of make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'll leave this up for 2 seconds. I don't know if you're right. Perfect. Okay. So after you've chosen that, that's essentially, I've never drawn this out. Let's do this right now. Okay, so let's make my cool little pyramid. Persuasion pyramid. What's it called, guys?
Persuasion pyramid.
Love that. So cool. Okay, so all right, so this is essentially, and again, I've never put it this way, but this is how I do it in my mind. So we just went over those last fears, right? You guys got those. So we choose one of those fears that we're going to attack in this piece of copy. It's an advertorial, so we're going to attack that fear. But we also have to attack something else. So there's 11 things that make us all go crazy. So if we're going to attack a certain fear from the before, we're going to choose one thing, right? One of the fears, and then we're going to choose one of these things that make us all go crazy. Because what we're doing now is with the fears and with these 11 things that make us all go crazy, again, you're only going to pick one of these, not all 11 in one advertorial. You're meeting people where they're at, right? Here's what they're scared of. Here's stuff that makes them go crazy. But then you have to transition them to where you want them to be. And that's where, at the end, I don't know if you see that, it says desire. So what's the desired outcome? You got to meet them where they are, and then get them to where they need to be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. So, 11 things make us all go crazy. feeling inadequate, feeling unimportant and not needed. This third one I've used a lot, feeling underappreciated. One of the things, it's a little secret to writing MMO offers, make money online type offers, is you're generally targeting people who are still employed at a job. And if they're looking for ways to make money online, do you think they like their job?
No.
No. And one of the reasons they don't like their job is many times, from what I've kind of experimented with and seen, is because they're underappreciated. They do a lot of work, they're not generally bad employees. They started off really badass, but their boss never gave them credit, they made them work extra, they just, like, man, I'm busting my ass, and this guy doesn't even say thank you. So many times, a person just wants to be acknowledged for the good work they did. They don't necessarily need a raise or need more money, they just want to be acknowledged. So if you feel underappreciated, if you feel powerless or trapped because of your job, right? Some of these you'll see, they can kind of fall into the other, but you want to make sure you just choose one. If you start choosing too many, it's just kind of disjointed. Your copy seems like you've got 40 different angles you're trying to put in, and none of them are going to work. You want to think of this as a very precise, like laser precision type copy. You're going in there to execute on one fear, one thing that makes them go crazy, and we're going to choose the best possible outcome that we think they really desire, and then we're going to steer them into that. So, feeling powerless, and feeling used, feeling oppressed, feeling used, man. Chris has done a really good job with that, with his romance stuff. Do you think a lot of people in relationships sometimes they may feel like they're used? In a bad relationship, maybe you feel like you're used.
Sure.
Yeah. So if you're feeling like that, and someone says, "Hey, have you ever felt used by your boyfriend, but you don't want to break?" I mean, this isn't the copy. You don't want to break up with him. Well, here's the secret to keeping your man and not being used, or vice versa. Doesn't matter, right? So you attack these things because these are things that make them go crazy. We know these. So if you have this type of list, we'll go to the next one. If you have this list, it's very easy to start writing copy that converts. Because after we go through these things that make you go crazy, I'll give you guys a 13-step template. You just plug and play shit, and it's not that difficult. But you can't plug and play stuff if you don't hit the right emotions, right? Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. We can't just write a Facebook ad if we're not relating to them, because then it's just pointless. It's not going to work, right? Okay. Number 7, feeling frustrated when we see others taking for granted something we really want. Feeling frustrated when others take you for granted. That's a big one. Feeling the guilt imposed by parents, friends, teachers, religions, etc. How many of you guys started, either went to school or did something simply because you were pressured to do it by family, friends, it was something you felt obligated to do, right? I went to college because of that reason. I didn't want to go to college. I knew I was going to be an internet marketer or something my whole life. I just didn't have the guts to do it in my head. I was like, God, my parents really need me to go to college. I can't go to college. If I don't go to college, it would be terrible. So I was like, in my head, I'm like, I gotta do this. If someone were to have put an ad in front of me saying, hey, have you ever felt like you're being forced into a situation you don't want, and you're just doing it because you love the people who are pushing you into it? I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that's exactly what I feel like, right? But it sounds like you're tapping into this person's real inner heart. Like, this is what they're thinking, right? I actually, I read one of my sales letters to a brother, my brother. I have 2 brothers. One of my brothers, and he was actually the demographic. And so I just started reading. I'm like, hey man, I just came across this little article. You mind if I read it to you a little bit? And I started reading, like literally the first, 4 lines, and he was like, get out of my head! What's going on? I'm like, this is perfect, because now it's like talking to him. And he kept asking me after. He's like, hey, so did you ever? What was that article? I want to share it with whoever his friend is. And when you have that, now you know you actually are talking to their real feelings, right? These are really things that they may not say in public, but what they feel. A lot of people feel this stuff. Feeling frustrated that life is passing you by and you're not achieving what you hoped. Feeling frustrated with things that should be easy but aren't. How many of you guys have run a Facebook ad but failed? Yeah, wasn't that shit supposed to be easy? That's what ad said. They can make $1 million with Facebook ads. What happened, right? So you get frustrated, and that's why a lot of people quit. It's actually why a lot of people quit MLM, in my opinion, because when you get into MLM, you think it's, when I first got into my first MLM at 10 years ago or 12 years ago, I didn't work it, I didn't actually work the business. I was just sold on, hey, you can make millions of dollars. You just enroll one person here, one person there, and you're basically a millionaire. And when that didn't happen in a month, I was like, oh, this isn't how it's supposed to be. What is this, right? And so I dropped off, right? So again, if you know that about your prospect, a lot of times all you have to do is identify that. Once wow, this person knows exactly what I'm talking about, you can really make a huge sale. And the key thing is, if you hit even one, I mean, you have to have the desire, but if you hit only one good fear or only one go crazy type of element or whatever, you'll still do well. The best scenario is if every one of it, like the fear you hit is a real inner fear they have. If they really feel like they're underappreciated, if they really feel like they want to, travel the world or whatever, if you hit all of those things, and it's hard not to have a winner. It's just hard, especially if you have a good offer. One thing that Robert Novel was bringing up, which is absolutely true, and I just want to, from a copywriter's point of view, I want to reinforce what he said. The offer is 100% more important than the copy. You can have an amazing sales letter and piece of work, but if the offer is just not appealing, it's not going to work. You can have a really shitty piece of copy though, and an amazing offer, and that'll work like gangbusters. And I have a proof of that actually. I was selling people into my, I have an online membership program, but it's an I Love Jeet Kune Do on Facebook. It's just a big martial art thing that I was a martial artist, so I sell to martial artists. And where was I going with this? I sell to martial artists.
Offers more important.
Oh, offers more important, yeah. And so I was selling people on a $69 a month membership, and like no one was taking me up on it. I was like, man, that's just not a sexy offer. I mean, it's sexy for me because then I get a bunch of people paying me $69 a month. It wasn't hot for them. But as soon as I switched and said, hey, you'll get these free nunchucks when you sign up for my $69 a month membership, we had like 20 people sign up like in a day from one email blast. And I'm like, holy shit, well that was pretty cool. So all we did was tweak the offer. We didn't even change the sales page. It was literally the same sales page, same copy, selling in a membership, and all I did in the beginning at the headline at the top was say, yeah, here's something along the lines of like, here's how you get these nunchucks for free. And I had a video of me like playing with nunchucks or something, right? And they went through the copy and eventually signed up to get their free nunchucks because they didn't care about the membership, they just wanted the nunchucks. And most people sign up for 2 or 3 months on your membership anyway, so just kind of, you know your numbers, you know what you can do, right? Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you have a killer offer, that's what you want to focus on. 100%. When something's not converting, look at your offer. It may not even be the copy. Just look at the offer. Okay. So did you guys have this written down or put down?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so we've got that. Let's move on. 8 universal desires. So this is the third part of the persuasion pyramid. We're going to say a trademark. We got their fears, we hit them on their go crazy elements, and then here's what we're trying to drive them to. One of these 8 things is what they want, and this is what we're trying to push them to, right? They want to feel okay about their past or forgiveness for their past mistakes. Anybody ever heard or read any kind of copy? They're like, hey, I know you failed at losing weight. It's not your fault. Sure. Yeah, of course, right? Yeah, well, it is our fault, right? Of course it's our fault. But you take away that, you kind of forgive them for their mistake. You say, hey, it's not your fault, no worries. Let me help you, right? So that's one thing. The one thing that is a universal desire. Next one, to feel free and in control of our own destiny. To feel happy. To feel alive, excited, and exhilarated. This is really important if you're selling anything fitness related. A lot of times if you sell anything that gets somebody healthier, they generally are going down that path because they want a positive change in their life, right? You don't like, I want to lose weight and then just be more depressed. It just doesn't happen, right? You want to be more physically fit, and when that happens, so as soon as you're, how do I put this? If you're selling a fitness-related product, whether it's any fitness-related product, and that's like this thing is kind of, in my case, like a fitness-related health-type product. One of the things I would have used, I don't know if maybe they did do this, I don't remember, but to feel alive, excited, exhilarated, I mean, I wake up every morning at 6 a.m. I do a quick little 1-mile hike. I hate doing it, but I do it. If they would have talked to me about, man, imagine how excited you're going to feel when, you're a quarter way up and you're full of energy, nothing happens because you used this thing and broke up all the, whatever's in there and shit. But these are the things we all want. So you just want to pick one of them out. Okay. Number 5, to feel physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually fulfilled. That's almost a universal desire, just across the board, whether people admit it or not. That's basically across any niche. You want that. You can make money online to do what? So then you can not have to work anymore. You can become more physically fit by doing nothing. And you can actually become smarter because you're not clouding your brain with a bunch of nonsense, and you can become emotionally supported, or you can be more emotionally supportive and more emotionally happy because you're not stressed, your mind isn't. But do you guys kind of see where I'm going with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 6, to feel accepted, respected, admired, needed, desired, and loved. So a big one in my martial art niche is this one right here. Number 6, but more so than 6, is to feel respected. I did something because I was trying to figure out my customers a little more. I highly suggest everybody do this. I just called them up, right? So I generated a lead ad and I got their name, because I usually just generate leads and get their name and email, and that's generally it. But I wanted to figure out my customers because I want to write to them more. So I targeted my fan page. I got like 80 or 90,000 people on there. I targeted them and I got 50 or so people on the phone, maybe a little less. And I literally just asked them questions like, hey, I saw that you're a fan of our I Love Jeet Kune Do fan page. Just wanted to see, have you ever trained in Jeet Kune Do? Oh yeah, I trained in this when I was a little kid and all this stuff. Wow, and my demographic is about 45 years old, 55 years old. So they're not MMA fighters, right? Which is what I thought they were. It's huge. So it's good. I mean, it's not just good to know the age because the Facebook ad tells you that. When you call them up, I mean, you really hear the emotion. I mean, one of the lead-ins on my emails is actually, it's almost a transcription of a call that I had that I recorded. It was just like, this guy basically said, when I asked him, like, hey, so why are you interested in learning martial art? Because you've done Jeet Kune Do when you were younger, you're doing this, you're saying you're unhealthy, like, what really is getting you back into this? Like, well, the world is going crazy, Trump got elected, I think we're going to have massive riots, we're going to have a lot of class wars, and I just don't think I can protect my family without a gun, and I want to be able to protect my family without a gun. Wow, that's pretty fucking powerful and descriptive. Like, you get Trump, gun, like, I'm trying to see, like, certain elements that stick out. Like, maybe I can target survivalists, right? It's cool stuff. Okay. So, again, what do your people want? They want to feel respected. That's what I was getting back to. My list wanted to be respected by their family, by their wife, by their kids, because they're all men, right? I have like 2% women on my list. It's like all men. And a lot of them, again, 45, 55 years old, they want to not just be breadwinners, they want to be the protectors of the household, especially if they're into martial art, they want to be the protector. And so that's how you get respect from your wife and your kids and all that in their eyes, is to be someone who's invincible, who can defeat bad guys and stuff like that. Okay, number 7, to feel successful, and number 8, to feel optimistic, even excited about our future. So many people are just not excited about the future because they haven't had success, and a lot of the overcoming of issues is just painting the picture that they could see success. That's why testimonials and case studies are so huge, because it's proof. It's not just saying, hey, I made $50. It's like, hey, look at this guy's like back office. He started with $0 and made $50 doing X, Y, and Z. Like, that's proof, right? And so it paints the picture that if they can do it, I can do it too, right?
This is brilliant. I'm like, it's like, oh, wow. This is like, what? Like, I already, like, once you have your customer base, I'm like, are you kidding me? This is what? This is how simple it is.
Good. Well, I'm happy it helps. It's funny because I got the optimistic thing from one of my martial arts instructors named Ajahn Chai, and he was pretty amazing. He was like, in all of his, I don't know if he does this as a smart marketer or something, but he puts on all his pictures, if I can do it, you can do it too. And I was like, oh, that's really smart. He's like, yeah, if I don't tell them that, they won't believe in themselves. I was like, that's like, and he's like an old, like 80-year-old man. He's like barely kicking and punching and going. He's like been doing it for like 40 years. So I have a following. You know, if people didn't think they could do it, they think, oh my gosh, only Ajahn Chai can do this. I can't do this. No, he puts on. I can do it. You can do it. And it makes them feel optimistic that even they can do it, right? Does that make sense to you guys? It's really important. You have a question?
Yeah, Kel, so I just want to make sure. So you will address in the copy, you will address just one fear, you will pick up one fear, one go crazy, and one
Yes.
desire?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's my persuasion pyramid.
Right.
Yeah.
But you will take one out of the least
Yeah,
of 10?
yeah, exactly. I
Right.
take one, and I kind of do my best bet on it. Like, the more you do this, if you're talking to, it's easier when you're not a freelancer, right? So when I was freelancing, I had to develop all these types of systems and shit, because I work for 150 different clients in multiple different industries. Like, so to get as many conversions as possible, I was like, well, how can I get the and I actually was shown this, not this, but these desires and stuff by Clayton Makepeace. So I don't want to take like credit for that. I learned that from him. And then what I just did, I was like, well, you know, I just noticed that I naturally just take one of each. And I was doing it because I was lazy and I needed to crank out copy fast. I had more clients coming out. I'm like, I can't turn in shit work and get new clients because I won't have repeat business. I still need to get good work, and it's gotta work. So I templated it out and I started doing things like this. I was like, okay, pick one of each. What's the best shot I got? You know, I pick one fear. One thing makes me go crazy, and what's the best thing? So if I'm selling a fitness thing, what do they really want? They do it. I'm thinking, which one? Because so many of these it could be, right? 4, you think 4? I like 4. And I know I was actually talking a lot about 4. I would almost go towards 2. I know it's something weird, right? Because you can do that in your business stuff too. But when you're in shape, when I've noticed just writing this stuff, people like to feel like they're in control. A lot of people, when they're out of shape, don't feel like they're in control of their own body. They can't walk up the stairs without getting pain here. They can't do this. You can't do that. And so when you feel in control of it's a little bit next level. The initial thing I would target is just like we were saying, I would go after 4. But just like after like writing towards those people, I know they want to be in control of their own destiny. That's why they take pills. They take pills to lose weight because they want to be in control of the weight loss.
So if you do an A/B split testing, would the copy A would take one and then B would take completely another one, or?
That would be a lot of split testing, in my opinion. Just
right,
because you've got so many
So
elements.
you
You've got
wouldn't
8 split tests on just this one slide, and then 11 on another one, and then 10 on.
No, just 2 copies. I was talking about just 2 copies. Would you change the copy, or would you change the fear, desire, and go crazy on the other copy?
Yeah, well, you've got to know the fears and all that stuff before you write the copy, because the copy is structured in a way to make those fears and pains arise, and then lead them in a specific direction. So that's kind of like you can't really do. I mean, I suppose you could just kind of throw shit together, but if you want it to work, you kind of need to do this part first,
right,
set the theme, and then start testing. What I would do if you wanted to do a split test though is not actually change, like pick what you think is going to be the best
right,
out of these 3,
right,
and you give it your best shot,
right,
and then start split testing little things like headline versus headline,
okay,
not
gotcha,
full copy versus full
Gotcha.
copy.
Okay, gotcha.
Just
That's
to be
fine.
clear, are you saying pick the outcome or desire and then go back to the fear and?
Well, it doesn't matter in which order. I usually just start with fears because it's like a natural progression, right? What are you scared of? Okay. What makes you go crazy? Okay. And here's how you get the results of what you want. And then, so I usually start with fears, what makes them go crazy, and what's the ultimate desired result that they want. Yes.
If possible, do you have an example of an ad copy?
Yeah. I'm actually going to go through and I'll give you examples for like each section of an advertorial. Sure. Cool. So, talking about that, here's an example of just the layout, and this is just kind of a screenshot. I think this is a basic layout for a product advertorial. The reason I wanted to focus on the product advertorial is actually a lot of this can be used. A product advertorial is essentially we're selling a physical product, right?
Yeah.
If I was selling a service or something, I wouldn't have an add to cart button here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I would possibly have a call to action button that says, yes, I want whatever, right? And one secret is, do you guys know what a call to action, like this add to cart button is a call to action button, right? It's a button they hit. You want to make your stuff like kind of benefit driven. So my call to action buttons are almost always like, yes, I want to join your mastermind. Yes, I want a free strategy session. Yes, right? Because you make them claim that shit, right? So anyway, this is just a basic layout of what a product advertorial is. Don't get too hung up on the product part if you're selling a service. Even though the stuff I'm going to be laying out is more geared towards a product, you would just replace wherever I say insert the add to cart button, you would just put insert the call to action button. Does that kind of make sense? Cool. All right. So step 1 of our 13 steps is you want to have a headline. Headline is the first thing they're going to see. It's similar to a sales letter, similar to an email. If you write an email, the subject line is kind of like the headline to grab their attention and pull them in. It's very hard to get a great advertorial to work if you don't have a killer headline. Because if they don't read the headline, they don't read past the headline, it doesn't matter what you have on the page, they didn't get to it, right? So the first thing you got to do is get something that's going to grab their interest and make them want to learn more. part. So since we're heading into the holidays, I thought this was kind of cool. You can use holiday type of themed headlines, right? So here's some basic stuff. 7 things he'll love for Christmas. So who do you think I'm targeting if I have something that says 7 things he'll love for Christmas? Am I targeting a man, a woman, a wife, a husband?
Woman, wife.
100%, exactly. Video, Santa wants to steal this stocking? That's like, what, Santa? How are you gonna do that, right? So it grabs their attention. Again, a lot of people, clickbaity types, do you guys know what clickbait is? Who doesn't know what clickbait is? Perfect. So clickbait is essentially do you know what bait is? Like, you bait on a fishing line or whatever. We're baiting the person to click our link. So whenever you see stuff that's kind of, we call it clickbaity, right? Clickbait stuff. Like, Santa wants to beat up this elf? What? And there's a video? No way. I gotta click on that shit, right? It caught your interest. And I'll actually make this point later on. I like these types of headlines with advertorials because you get way more click. What did we get on our click-through, Brandon? Do you remember?
Which one?
For the advertorial?
It's like at 4%.
Yeah. So I generally.
Yeah, 4 to 6.
Okay, so it's going up. So I usually see better results when I do things like this that are kind of like shocking and I kind of like counterintuitive, like the fat person who ran a 4-minute mile. The fuck? That's counterintuitive, right? Or whatever it might be. So those counterintuitive type of deals are generally what's going to get more clicks, and that's the first step. You need to get them to click on the ad, to go to the advertorial. Then the next step is you need that, and what I like to do, who was talking about congruency? Was it you? Brand congruency?
Yeah.
Yeah, congruency is huge, not just branding and everything, but across the board. So if they click on a Facebook ad that says 7 things he'll love for Christmas, what do you think a really good headline would be for the advertorial?
The same thing.
The same thing.
Same thing, exactly. 7 things he'll love for Christmas, because it's congruent. If they click on something that said 7 things he'll love for Christmas, and then the next thing on the page was Santa wants to steal this stocking, totally not congruent. So it was a cool title, but it wasn't congruent, so it won't work, right? So you gotta keep it congruent. Step 2 is just a simple product image or a call to action button if you're not selling a product. So you would have the headline, grab their attention, and then I usually stick a call to action button of some kind there, because who knows if they're ready to buy? They might be ready to buy right after the headline. The ideal situation is your headline is so compelling and so killer, and they're ready to go, right? So give them that option. But what if they're not? You still got to keep on going, and so we go to the third step. So we've got to start with a story. We've grabbed their attention. We've said, hey, maybe you want to buy it? Nope, you don't want to buy it? Okay, no problem. Let's continue on. So you give them a juicy story about how the product came to exist. What happened? You know, there's so many funny ways that we develop products, and we don't actually use them in our stories. Like, there was a friend of mine who went to Bali and learned all this like fitness stuff from like some guru in Bali, and he never used it in his marketing. I'm like, are you kidding? That's like such a good headline. Like 4-foot guru in Bali shows me how to lose 30 pounds and whatever. Like, there's so many cool things. So a lot of the best marketing type of copy that you can do is just interview yourself or whoever owns the product or deciding to do this stuff and start asking, how did I even come across, what's the weird story that did I get introduced to this by a friend or whatever it is? So you start with a story. One of the things, and I just made this up, this is actually not a real product. I just made it up, right? But it's, so anyway, this is giving you an example. So in a survival niche, ever wonder, and one thing I like to do is when I start my stories, it's generally the first piece of, so this would be like, after the headline, this is like the first line of copy they see. Sometimes I'll actually sometimes I'll put like, Dateline, hyphen, to make it look more newsworthy and shit. But essentially this is the first line of copy that I would have after the headline, and I start with a yes question. A question that's gonna make you say, oh yeah, that's kind of cool, right? Ever wonder what elite military units rely on at night when they're fighting bad guys overseas? If you're in the survivalist niche and all that, you're really into that, we can probably say, yeah, I'd love to know what that is, right? So, well, it's not a flashlight or even a firearm. It's night vision goggles. One's very similar to the night vision X10 you see in the picture below. Now, the reason I put that is because a lot of times you're not going to have a product that's picked up by the military. And if you do, that's badass. You should totally use that if you can. But if not, find something that you can compare it to. And you say, well, it's something similar to this, right? You're not lying, but you need to paint this picture in their head. You can't just be like, hey, here's some goggles, right? That's not sexy. You need a story. Does this part make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. Do you guys understand how you would come to your own story?
Yes.
Yeah. How would you do it? Just curious.
Use just life examples.
Exactly.
There's not like
yourself.
something.
Yeah, interview yourself. Real life examples, interview yourself. How did this even come about? How did I start this, right? Okay. Features. Now, when we do features, think of these like sections in your advertorial. So if we actually, let me go back just a couple slides. Okay, so think of these as sections, right? We have our headline, you got a little, this in this section, this would have been up here, and then we have a little bit of our story, and then we got some features. So it's little sections you're just kind of plugging in, right? So we go back to features. One of the things that I'll do is I don't actually just put features. How many of you guys been on Amazon? And well, Amazon's different, but Amazon will actually say features. And you list the features, right? In advertorial, you don't want to be so bland. We're trying to be more storytelling, theatrical in a way. And so you say it. Here's what's amazing about the Night Vision X10. It's positive, right? We're not saying here's what's kind of cool, here are the features. Okay. Here's what's amazing about whatever your guys' product is. These are all templates, right? Here's what's amazing about nunchucks. I sell nunchucks, right? Here's what's amazing about nunchucks, and you list them out. So in this case, I just listed out 96-hour recording capability, waterproof, whatever, whatever it is. But that's how you would identify your features. Now, after you hit the feature part of your advertorial, it's the next thing you do. You possibly have sold them on the idea of buying your stuff just with the features. So every time you think you could possibly get them to buy, like maybe I sold them enough, offer them a chance to buy. The last thing you want is to have them scrolling up and down the page trying to find a button to hit so they can buy. You need to be super easy. And generally, as a rule of thumb, the more call to action buttons that you have, the more conversions you'll get, as long as it's, not like overkill. You're not just putting them like right, you gotta space it out a little. But the more calling out, like in advertorial, I'll use 3 to 5 call to action buttons, and it's really a 1 or 2 page Word document. So kind of put it in perspective, right? It's a lot of call to action buttons, right? If you don't have the button, you don't make it easy, and they're not gonna click. You need them to click. Okay, so step 6, the benefits. So here's the stuff that you can use it for, and this is actually where they got me with the fairy button. They showed all the different ways hikers are using it for, and I hike. Very low hiking, but I hike. So they got me, right? So they got me with that. There's other people who are like super like football player-y and stuff. That didn't relate to me, and all this other stuff. But they got me with some reason to use this. So whenever you've got your product, don't just think of the one way you would use it. And just like I think Robert was talking about, he'll look at how his customers are using it. Like he had people using some grappling hook or something he was saying, and they were like roofers. Like that's something you want to paint the picture of. You want to explain that story in your advertorial. You could probably put 3 to 4 of these types of stories, your best ones, in there. So here's an example. Assuming you, if any of you guys don't know, you generally need a hunting permit to like hunt at night, right? So these people would be in the survivalist niche. I would say, assuming you've got a permit to hunt at night, the Night Vision X10 can be used when you're out hunting in the woods. You'll use the same kind of technology elite military units use in their night ops, right? So I make it cool, kind of story-ish, but I show them how they can use it. You can use it to hunt at night. I didn't just say, it's night vision goggles, you can hunt at night, right? You hunt in the woods using the same kind of technology, elite military units. Do you see how I'm painting this picture of how it's a cool thing instead of just your typical goggles? Right? Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. So what you guys want to start doing, I know we're kind of just going on these examples, is think of them as templates. So, obviously you may not be able to say, assuming you've got a permit to hunt at night, but try to fill these in with whatever it is you're offering, right? If you're in the relationship niche, you can do, I don't know what product you would use, but you can use these types of examples to just kind of plug and play your own benefits.
Carlos, are you trying to correlate the benefit to the feature, or does that?
Yeah. So yes and no. So in these features, for example, So generally, yes. I don't want to give you a hard yes on it because I know I don't do it all the time. Sometimes what I do is I list out all these features as kind of, okay, I've kind of tapped those things they might be interested in. Let's attack it from a slightly different angle and see if I can, maybe that didn't make a buy. I'll use a few other types of examples. So yes, if you're kind of just getting started in your first advertorial, I wouldn't try to do a bunch of guesswork. I would just say, okay, here are the features. Let me do the benefit version of those features. But eventually you can just kind of pick other stuff.
Carlos, I'm sure one thing you've done for in copy is that you use a feature and then you use two words, so that, right? And you switch from the feature to the benefit.
Right.
So 96-hour recording capabilities so that you can capture hours of memory. Waterproof so that you can use it while in the river.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
powerful. Yeah, that's
so that.
yeah, that's huge. That's great. I mean, that's huge. You guys should write that one down. So again, after we've hit them, right? So we've hit them with some features, hit them with some benefits, and now they should be a little bit more over the edge to want to buy, right? So what do we want to do? They're closer to possibly wanting to buy, so we want to have a very nice button there that lets them purchase, or click to schedule a call, or whatever it might be. But we give them that option. We don't want them to keep scrolling up and down if we've captured that initial interest. Okay. Step 8. Let's say they're still not sold, right? A lot of times what you'll see is people don't necessarily even read the full sales letter. They'll skip in chunks, right? So you want to kind of have your advertorial in chunks, just like what we're doing. So the way I'll do it is I'll literally have, under that call to action button, something like a subheadline that says, "Our happy customers," or "Customers like you, speak out," or "Our customers speak out," something like that. And then I start putting it down here. Now it's super important because most people don't trust people unless there's some kind of reason to trust them, right? So if you're just saying, "Hey, buy my shit," and they don't know you already, they're probably not going to want to buy it. But if you say, "Hey, here's Sally who used it, and here's this person who used it, and here's a video of someone else using it," that is powerful. One of the things that you can also do, my buddy Jordan actually was doing this, is he sells like physical products and stuff. It's not really anything you get a result with. It's a cool thing to have. So he said, "Well, how do I get testimonials?" Like they just get the shit. There's nothing to do. It's like, just got it. So I was like, "Well, just make him take a picture with it. That's proof. You deliver on your product." And so that's what he started doing. He's flooding us. He did some kind of contest, like you can get a little, whatever it is, if you send me your picture, some kind of contest. And so he got a bunch of pictures of people who had his product. That's it. That's what. So here's what our customers, our happy customers, and he's got tons of pictures of people who are just holding this product. There's no testimonial, there's no anything, but it's social proof. People are smiling, they're happy, and they're getting the actual product. Does that make sense?
Yes. What was 7?
I'm sorry?
What was 7? Number 7.
That was just the, product 5.
Product image, okay.
It's like 5, no? 7 and 5 is the same.
Almost after almost every one, not everyone, but almost every one, you give them an opportunity to buy. Because we don't want them to have to scroll up. If we've gotten their attention and interest and we've got them hot and ready to want to buy, think about this. People are on their phones most times. They're not really on a laptop seeing it really nice and big. They're on their phone and they're on those phones and like, "Oh, where's that buy button again?" Or forget it, and then they back out. So you want to make it super easy. Think about it like you just don't want to screw up the sale. It's so easy for them to disappear or get distracted online. You need it to be super brain dead easy, which is again why I have multiple call to action buttons. Anybody can scroll up, but I don't really count on someone to think about scrolling up. I just assume they're going to back out because they didn't see the button again. Right? Okay. And then obviously we hit another, after we've shown the happy customers, hopefully we overcome some of the objections, show social proof, and after we do that, we obviously want to offer them a reason to buy, or a buy button, call to action button, right? Step 10, gift this to someone else. This is huge, huge. Your clients may not need, or your customers may not actually need the product, right? We're trying to sell them. Everything before this is we're trying to sell them on the product, right? But let's say they come to this part, and they just don't need it. We still want to try and save the sale, right? So the way we save the sale, and I learned this from my old sales manager when I used to sell it door to door, he was like, we just rehash them. If they don't need it, I say, "Well, I'm sure you've got cousins, brothers, uncles, nieces, or something that, drive a car, right?" Yeah, I do. Perfect. You're just trying to sell them some other shit, right? So you give them, you explain that they can gift this to someone else, and you like to paint the picture again of, I don't know if I describe it here, but one of the things I like to do is I'll paint the picture of how that person is going to feel. So, how many of you guys know who Jordan Belfort is, the Wolf of Wall Street? Right, whether you agree with his tactics or not, a lot of the stuff he did in his straight line persuasion system, which I got, it's an unbelievable course, can directly apply to copy. And so he was talking about, in one of his things, he was getting people to buy, I forget the pitch or the script or whatever, but it was something like, you know, and as soon as you walk in, your wife will be so happy, she'll be hugging you and doing all this stuff, as soon as you walk through the door. So he painted the picture of what was going to happen if, you know, with someone else, right? So when you gift a product to someone else, you want to paint the picture of how that person is going to react, right? So if I gift this to Tiffany, then I want to paint the reader or the advertorial person wants to paint the picture of how she's going to react when I give this amazing gift to her that's $600, it's better than a ring, or whatever it is, you know, whatever the thing is. You know, that's, you give them a reason to buy for someone else, right?
Is that what she's getting instead of the ring?
Yeah. Right? So that, I mean, that's, and again, I wanted to use this, for the dash for cash. Jeff made up that name, I believe. That was, it's such a great name. I had to put it in here. I was like, how do we put it in, right? So the dash for cash, during the holidays, everybody knows, the Q4 is like that's the time when a lot of sales are happening, right? And so a lot of times these are holiday sales, especially if you're doing physical type products. So when you say, hey, gift this to someone else, or this is a great stocking stuffer for whoever else, it kind of falls in line with the general theme of gifting during the holidays, right? So it actually works in your favor even more so during the fourth quarter of the year. There's a bunch of these types of holidays, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, number 11. I use this on my sales pages. I use this on my advertorials. This is your final objection obliterator type of deal. Like, this is your last stand. They're at the bottom of the page. They probably scrolled to this section, right? They may not have even read the whole thing. Probably just scrolled all the way down. They're trying to get the cliff notes. And so your frequently asked question should essentially answer and solve anything that's going to make them not want to buy. So some common things that are just across the board is there a guarantee? Yes, there's a money back guarantee. How long until I see results? Again, these are the things you can use for almost any niche, right? Whether it's making money online or how long until I see results using the Theragun. How long until you start seeing results? That's another one you can start using. So you start attacking all of the main reasons and all the main objections that they wouldn't buy right now, and you stuff that in this frequently asked questions section. And generally, I try to get 10. Sometimes I have 5, like on one part, I think I only have 5 because I don't know all of your objections yet. But once I know all of your objections, then I'll throw them in the FAQ section, and we'll get more conversions because we're actually answering what these people want answered, right? Okay.
Charles,
Step 2, yes.
could you address the in the FAQ? Could you address like the fears, for example, like by answering the questions?
Well, there is a fear of getting ripped off. So yeah, you address it in that sense, but these are more.
If in the copy, for example, you're focused on fear of failure, right? On the FAQ, could you talk about like the fear of embarrassment, for example?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So one of the things you could do is if it's like the fear of failure, you would say one of the questions is, what happens if I fail?
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah, well, hey, no worries. We've got a 30-day money-back guarantee, and if for some reason you're ever unhappy, you'll get all your money back, no questions asked, no hard feelings.
Right.
And I don't do this every time, but many times I'll also add a call to action to every answer, because if you don't give them a call to action, they're not going to take action.
Right.
So if I say, yeah, no worries, oh, so yeah, I actually did it. I want to make sure I did in my example.
All right.
So, as a free bonus gift for the first 100 fast action takers who act by October 31st, when you claim your night vision X10 goggles, you'll also get, have I discussed a free bonus yet? No. No, I was like, wait, this isn't even the right example. But anyway, when the free bonus part it's such a great way of getting people over the edge, because after you hit them with the FAQs, just like what we're doing, right? You answer those questions, but you want to give them a little call to action, try and push them to take action again. But let's say, again, again, this is like the final stand. We're right here at the bottom of the page. The FAQs, we're trying to dominate and get some kick-ass results and get them to convert. But let's say they don't, we're just gonna throw something at them for free and be like, please take this. Like, I'm trying to give you like the kitchen sink, everything, right? So you can give one of the things that I like to do for free, and this offer I made up, right? So I say you get another night vision goggle for free or whatever. But sometimes you just can't do that because costs don't allow you to do that. So something easy you can do is create a digital product, a PDF, a cheat sheet, something along that's going to complement this product. So for example, if we're doing night vision X10 goggles, I would have a 5-step video course showing you how to use these actual goggles and how to do that stuff. Because now it's an extra bonus gift. They don't have to pay anything, but it has a good perceived value and it's related to what they're getting. Does that make sense? Yep. So if you've got anything, just make it, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Even if you're offering a free strategy session, if you add a free gift to people who get on the free strategy session, you'll get more people showing up for the free strategy session, right? You could literally even say stuff like, and I've actually done stuff like this. If you get on a call with me and I waste your time for half an hour, I'll give you $50 just for wasting your time. Well, that's a free gift. Okay, I'll get on the call, right? But it gives them a reason to get on. Or I'll give you a free book at the end of, or as soon as we start our strategy call, you're going to get a link to access a free book or something like that. But it gives them a free gift and another reason to show up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If they don't have a reason to show up, probably not going to show up. I learned that in my martial arts school because we book people for free trials and they won't do anything. And when we charge them $69 to try out our class, they would show up because we charge them $69 to try it out, right? Okay, so that's step 12, and then the last one is we obviously want to make it super easy for them. It's the last step, the final piece of the advertorial. We need them to have a buy button so they can take action. Again, they're on their phone more than likely. We don't need them scrolling up trying to figure out, oh, where's that buy button? Where is it here? We need it to be right there where they are immediately so it's easy to find. Right? So the last thing left is for them to buy. Only thing left. Okay. Examples of some headlines for ads. I'll just kind of go through this quickly. We're almost done. Is whenever I've done, and I already showed you kind of like the type of headlines I like before, right? Kind of that contradictory type stuff. I've noticed those get more clicks and more engagement. It just works a little bit better. But whenever I've done stuff selling like a physical product that's like $20 or $29, it's really kind of cheap. You can test a couple things. So if you were to throw the price, 10 amazing gadgets. Have you guys heard of a listicle? Mm-hmm. Okay, so for the people who don't know what a listicle is, it's very similar to an advertorial. It works really well if you've got 5 different products. And you say, here are the top 5 stocking stuffers for Christmas, and you list all 5, and each 5 of those have a link to your product. It's a list, kind of like an advertorial. It's a listicle, right? So that's kind of like where this would come into play. But if you include the price in your headline, you'll get less clicks. But as expected, you'll get more qualified people, so you will probably have higher conversions. If you don't include it, you'll get more clicks, possibly less conversions, but that doesn't mean that's a bad thing, because you can still make more money if you get more traffic. You just got to know your numbers, right? Okay, and here's some stuff that I was talking about. So here's the higher the price point, you generally want to retarget your readers, right? This again, talking about this. You're targeting a $600 deal. They're targeting it for a month, right? $600. Like no one even charges that. Look at that. It's not even on the map. Crazy. I'm an amazing customer. So, so essentially, the more the price is, the longer you're gonna have to retarget them for. The exceptions to stuff like that are things that are perishable, like foods or something that's gonna go bad. That kind of stuff will get eaten up quick. Will get purchased quickly, and the other one would generally be like beauty supplies and things like makeup, stuff like that. But other than that, this is a really pretty accurate representation for my own, I got this from Taboola, but just for my own results, my own stuff, this is actually pretty freaking accurate. The higher the price, the more you retarget, and obviously, just like what these guys did, they hit me with a Facebook ad, sent me to an advertorial, retargeted me for about a month, and then they sent me to their Amazon store, and I finally bought it. So, this stuff works, and that's it, guys. That's all I have for you today.
We have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. So, Ron, why don't you go ahead?
Persuasion pyramid, don't forget.
So, Carlos, is there a template for guides for having a good place to just start putting your advertorial together?
For a Facebook ad, the Facebook ad is actually the easier part. Like once you have the advertorial done,
What would you build it in?
I'm sorry?
I'm looking for, where would you build the advertorial?
Oh, where would you put it on? Like what? So I actually build mine on ClickFunnels.
Okay.
I have a ClickFunnels page and I put it on there. It's essentially, think of it like a do you know what WordPress is?
Sure.
A lot of people use WordPress because
Okay.
think of it like a blog article. There's a few things that I like to keep in mind. So people, this wasn't in the presentation, but a lot of times you'll see there's two approaches with advertorials. One, which is the one I'm really a favor of, is where there's just one page, no other links, no other anything. It's got one thing, right? You click on the call to action button. There's nothing else to do. There's other advertorials that are hosted on like a main kind of blog site, and they've got tons of advertorials that are like just like a blog. You can actually click on what happened like a month ago and find a completely different advertorial. And some people like that. I'm not a fan of it because if somebody can click away from my original offer, I don't care how sticky they are on the site. We're losing their attention. And so, anyways, that's kind of like 2 points of view. I don't have stats for it. I just know that I usually like it when it's totally directed. There's no other options to read another blog or
Okay, one last question.
Yeah. Actually, it's not a question. It's just for you to not feel bad. The product sell 51 a day, and they make $30,000 a day of this product.
Oh, do
On
that?
Amazon, yeah.
They do $30,000 a day?
$30,500 a day.
I don't doubt it.
So
I mean,
They're
shit,
not
like,
the only
it's a
ones.
$600 deal. That's
no,
crazy.
Douglas County.
Yeah.
Let's give it up for Carlos.
Yeah,
Come on, everybody on the stage. Come on. Everyone on the stage. Alright, okay guys, you know what? You know, warriors power through the finish line. Let me hear you say that.
Warriors power through the finish line.
Yeah, we have a little over, about an hour left to go. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break. How long?
10 minutes.
Okay, and then Reese is going to come back, and then I'm going to wrap it up, so we're going to see everybody back here in 9 minutes. Yes?
Yes.
All right, we'll see you guys then.
You got it.